Welcome everyone. I'm Joke Rogers here in Lagos. Let's begin with stories and happenings that made headlines over the weekend.
Déployé à Nyangezi.
On Saturday, armed forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo announced the arrest of 6 individuals, including Rwandan nationals and members of the AFC M23 militant group, over ongoing unrest in the region. Spokesperson of FARDC, Major General Sylvia Nekenge, at a press conference in Kinshasa, claimed that AFC M23 and Tirwanero members are those who attacked their positions, while reiterating that the armed forces have always respected the commitments made for the return of sincere and lasting peace in the eastern part of the country. In the meantime, Rwanda is yet to comment on the arrest of its nationals. However, it has repeatedly denied allegations of backing the M23. Still on Saturday, hundreds of vessels of all sizes paraded along South Africa's Vaal River, marking the launch of the annual summer boating season celebrations. Traditionally held to welcome the arrival of spring, the Vaal River boating season also serves as part of a government and community effort to clear invasive aquatic weeds and promote tourism along the river. Besides the boat parade, the opening day featured contests including prizes for the best decorated vessels, live music, and community gatherings along the river. Also in Malawi, Kasakula became the first community to achieve 100% access to solar power after international development charity Solar Aid provided nearly 9,000 households with electricity. Once with just 1% electricity availability, Kasakula has now become the first of Malawi's remotest regions to achieve full solar coverage, including 10 primary schools and 2 secondary schools. Solar Aid, founded in 2006, is a UK-based charity tackling poverty and climate change by bringing clean, affordable solar power to off-grid communities in sub-Saharan Africa. Finally, Mandela, grandson of South Africa's anti-apartheid leader Nelson Mandela, announced that he is joining the global flotilla, a mission aimed at delivering humanitarian aid to Gaza and challenging the Israeli blockade of the enclave.
We want to say to our Palestinians, comrades, brothers and sisters, to remain steadfast. They must remain united in their fight to realize a free Palestine.
The Global Flotilla is a coalition of activists from various organizations, including the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, the Maghreb Flotilla, the Global Movement for Gaza, and the Sumud Nusantara. The flotilla will be traveling through Italy and Tunisia on its way to Gaza and is set to arrive in mid-September.
We're in Kenya now, where the country's economic future faces a major test. The African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, is set to expire on September 30, threatening the duty-free trade arrangement that has long served as the backbone of the country's exports of clothing to the United States. The deal, which has been a game-changer, anchoring billions of shillings in investment, sustaining 66,000 apparel jobs, and supporting nearly 660,000 Kenyans who depend on the apparel sector for their livelihoods. Analysts warn that without AGOA, Kenya could lose its competitive edge to countries such as Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Egypt. The Kenyan government has responded swiftly, sending Trade Minister Lee Kiyanjui to Washington to lobby for an extension. In the meantime, the government is considering a mitigation package to cushion factories and workers from the impact of new tariffs. Beyond textiles, Kenya's future lies in diversification, leveraging agricultural exports such as nuts and horticulture, which are considered value-added goods in the U.S., still the world's largest consumer market. Let's get more on this. Joining us now is Kenyan journalist Cyrus Mbati. Cyrus, great to see you. Thanks for joining us today. Industry as the AGOA deadline approaches.
Hello,
Cyrus,
can you hear me?
if you can hear me, I started by asking you the general sentiment within Kenya as the affected industry, in the affected industry as AGOA deadline approaches.
Actually, as you put very clearly, there is a panic among the government officials in Kenya because the Minister for Industry had just come back from the US this weekend, and it seems he didn't have a good deal. And so far, he's supposed to issue a statement now. A few minutes from now, I talked to him earlier on, and he doesn't seem to have a good news so far because there is no deal that has been actually arrived at so far.
Right, and how are factories and workers in the garment industry in Kenya preparing for this apparent deadline?
Well, as I've told you, I talked to the minister, and they argue that as compared to other competitors like Bangladesh, Egypt, and Vietnam, Kenyan products will be getting to the US at 10%, at a tariff of 10%, as compared to the other countries which have around 10%, apart from maybe Egypt. And the argument is that Kenyan products will be still competitive as compared to other countries which are actually producing similar products like apparel that we are referring to. So he's optimistic that in as much as the talks are ongoing, he hopes that the tariffs that the Kenyans are getting from the US are much lower as compared to the other competitors.
And as the Trade Minister, Lee, can Yanjui's lobbying effort in Washington shown any signs of progress? How optimistic is the government about securing an extension?
Well, they are saying that there are more talks which are scheduled in the coming 2 weeks, and they are optimistic that there will be a deal reached. But given what Washington has been doing the past year, or rather past weeks and months, those insiders are saying they don't have much hope, in as much as the government is putting up a strong face saying that they will achieve a given good deal with the US.
And if the AGOA is not renewed, because anything can happen really at this point, what specific elements are expected in the government's proposed mitigation package? How soon would they be implemented?
Well, the only thing they are relying on is the lower tariff, which is actually America has put on Kenya, which is 10% on all products coming from Kenya to the US. So to the government, they are saying that these are much, much cheaper to the American product when Americans are buying Kenyan products as compared to the competitors. That's the only hope they have, that they will be able to kind of be competitive in the US market as compared to their competitors.
And in terms of long-term strategy, how is Kenya positioning itself to diversify beyond the garment industry, especially in agricultural exports like nuts and horticulture, to maintain access to the US market?
I mean, that one now they have to zero rate all the products that they're trying to sell to the US. They are just trying to negotiate a better deal to kind of help the farmers who are suffering at large. So as it stands, it's an issue of wait and see. There's nothing much they can do as much as you can say that they want to have a deal in the end.
Right. Thanks again, Cyrus.
Thank you for me, the show.
We now turn our attention to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the M23 rebel group claims to have recaptured the town of Shoa in North Kivu province just a day after it briefly fell under the control of the Congolese army and the pro-government Wazalendo militia. Residents say the rebels launched a surprise offensive, forcing the Wazalendo to retreat. The town of Shoa sits in the Masisi territory, a region rich in gold, cobalt and tantalum, and a hotbed of violence for over 3 months as rebels and government forces battle for control. This latest clash comes despite ongoing peace efforts. In July, the DRC and rebel groups, including M23, signed a ceasefire in Doha. However, fighting has only intensified. Meanwhile, Congolese army officials have slammed the renewed rebel attacks as a blatant violation of both the Washington and Doha peace agreements, underscoring the fragile state of security in the region. Staying in the DRC, local self-defense group aligned with the armed forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Wazalendo militia, and the new Congolese civil society held an open-air rally in Uvira calling for the removal of the head of the 33rd Military Region, General Olivier Gasita. The group accused the general of betrayal and warned of threats to local youth if he remained in command. General Kasita, a senior officer in the Congolese army, was recently appointed to lead the 33rd Military Region in South Kivu. His appointment has sparked protests, with Wazalendo accusing him of being Tutsi and of having ties to Rwanda and the M23 rebellion. Meanwhile, the Thabo Mbeki Foundation in South Africa has concluded its dialogue on African peace and security, with the dialogue focusing on DRC conflict and Mozambique's Cabo Delgado region, among others. While the DRC government turned down the invitation to dialogue, the governing gathering was attended by civil society activists and security experts from across the world. Speaking to the media, South Africa's former president emphasized the importance of Africa supporting the DRC as they work out their future.
In order to be able to address the challenges that the Congo is now, you heard them today, that the Congo is in many instances, as somebody just said now, is in many instances a federation of tribes, rather than one united country. That surely was not the aim, to have the Congo like that at the point of independence. Something went wrong somewhere. I think that they've got to address that matter, and I think it's, given its importance for the future of the continent, all of us need to be very ready to support the Congolese as they work out that future. And I personally think that when they negotiated the Sun City Agreement and then negotiated a constitution on the basis of that agreement, they created a very correct and a very strong base for the reconstruction of the Congo. Again, you heard them say, a number of them say that part of the problem is that many of the provisions in the Sun City Agreement they did not implement. And hence they get into the crisis now. So I'm really just saying that I hope the meeting communicates to them, the Congolese way here, the strong sense that we, the rest of the Africans, are saying to the Congolese, can you please get together and give us a possibility to help you.
Elsewhere, African and Caribbean leaders have concluded the second Africa-CARICOM summit at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, reaffirming their commitment to the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity of states. The summit, themed Transcontinental Partnership in Pursuit of Reparatory Justice for Africans and People of African Descent, aims to solidify a common framework for addressing historical injustices and enhancing cooperation. According to the new chair of CARICOM, Dr. Terence Drew, the summit will deepen South-South cooperation while affirming a common voice on global platforms, including climate change, peace, security, and multilateral reform. Highlighting the urgency of unified advocacy, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali says the world is changing. Voices once ignored are now demanding to be heard. And in this new era, we cannot speak in fragments. We must speak as one.
For the Caribbean community, this summit on the African continent represents a homecoming. For centuries, our peoples were separated by an ocean, by a colonial system, and by an international economic order. Nevertheless, we have remained connected through an enduring spirit and a shared heritage. This gathering is a tangible manifestation of our commitment to bridge the divide. Indeed, we are not merely building a partnership, we are reaffirming a familial bond.
Historians will certainly put on record that from Addis Ababa, Africa and the Caribbean renewed their covenant to honor our ancestors, to uplift our descendants, and reclaim our shared destiny in freedom, justice, and unity. The African Union stands proudly and firmly with our Caribbean brothers and sisters in every step towards reparatory justice and true liberation.
We often speak of reconnection, but what we are doing goes further. We are building a relationship deliberate, purposeful, and lasting. Excellencies, The world is changing. Voices once ignored are now demanding to be heard. In this new era, we cannot speak in fragments. We must speak as one. That's why the AU-CARICOM partnership matters. It is rooted in opportunity, guided by frameworks that reflect today's reality. Africa brings scale, natural wealth, and boundless potential. The Caribbean brings strategic diplomacy, strong institutions, and resilient communities. Together, those strengths are multiplied.
Today's first in-person meeting, since we met virtually for the first time in 2021, is timely in reinforcing the bonds between Africa and the Caribbean, as well as in examining ways in which to deepen our partnership at the global and strategic levels. This will allow us to deepen South-South cooperation while fostering shared prosperity and affirming a common voice on global platforms, including on global peace, security, reform, and multilateral issues such as climate change.
Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko has announced sweeping cabinet and policy changes in Dakar as the government seeks to revive the country's struggling economy. The Prime Minister confirmed several ministerial changes, including former Foreign Minister Yassine Fall, who will now take over as Justice Minister, succeeding Ousmane Diagne. In August, the Prime Minister announced a financial recovery plan in an effort to stabilize the country's economy without taking on more debt. As World marks Literacy Day, Nigerian Union of Journalists is calling on the government and institutions to ensure more Nigerians are made literate. The new annual Global Education Monitoring Report by UNESCO indicates that 251 million are out of school, which is a mere reduction of 1% since 2015. The report shows a clear connection between literacy and countries in extreme poverty in Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa. The latest report from UNESCO on the literacy rate in Africa, especially Nigeria, is deeply troubling as the continent witnessed an increase in the number of out-of-school children in Africa by 12 million. Nigeria's out-of-school children population accounts for a whopping 15% of the global total. This is clearly outrageous and unsustainable, according to UNESCO. The Nigerian Union of Journalists is calling on government and institutions of government to brace up for the challenge to ensure that people are made literate through deliberate policies and investments in education, as well as providing much greater incentives to educators. Ethiopia is set to officially open the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, a massive project on the Blue Nile expected to more than double the country's electricity output. The $5 billion dam has been under construction since 2011. It's expected to produce more than 5,000 megawatts, doubling Ethiopia's current output. Part of that will be exported to neighboring countries, raising concerns in Egypt and Sudan over the potential reduction of water levels downstream. Despite the formation of a joint panel to discuss the sharing of the Blue Nile water, tensions remain high. Egypt has denounced what it called Addis Ababa's unilateral decisions regarding the use of the Nile's waters. Ethiopia says it has been careful to ensure water flows downstream throughout the year, claiming the huge dam will not only benefit its own population, but also its neighbors, and sees it as an opportunity to become Africa's leading electricity exporter. In Zambia, a breakthrough may be near in the dispute over the funeral of late former President Edgar Lungu. The former Lungu's family have agreed to begin mediated talks to resolve the long-running standoff. A joint statement says the process will seek to balance state protocols with the family's personal wishes while preserving the dignity of the late president. The dispute began after Mr. Lungu's death in South Africa in June. His family initially sought a private burial abroad, citing emotional strain and fears of political interference from President Hakainde Hichilema. However, the government insisted on a state funeral in Lusaka as is standard for former heads of state. After a legal battle, South African courts ruled that Mr. Lungu's remains should be repatriated to Zambia. Football fans in Johannesburg are expecting a tough clash between the Bafana Bafana of South Africa and Super Eagles of Nigeria in Tuesday's 2026 World Cup qualifying clash in Bloemfontein, South Africa. And they are still in commanding lead of the Group C with 16 points from 7 games, while the Super Eagles are in third behind Benin Republic on 10 points from same number of matches. While the South Africans remain positive they will continue their winning run, Nigerian fans expect a stunning result away from home.
I'm expecting a 2-1, and here's my reason. The physical presence of Nigeria, coupled with Osimhen. Osimhen is a powerhouse, and you can't take that away from him. And then South Africa is a beautiful team. Good linkage in their football. You could see the teamwork. But in terms of strength and overpowering, I am sure if Osimhen is there, we're going to see a 2-1.
Recently, how South Africa has been playing, I think it's safe to say that Nigerians, are you ready to be embarrassed? Don't worry, just 2-0. Maybe the second goal will be a penalty. So we're just gonna do you that favor and just hit 2-0. Ask Lesotho. Ask Lesotho what happened. 3. Ask them. We don't play now.
My expectations for the match between South Africa and Nigeria. I expect a lot of fireworks because this is some of the finest teams in the whole of Africa, and they deserve to go represent Africa at the world stage in the World Cup coming in 2026. So I expect a draw.
This one is personal. South Africa were taking it. There is nothing. Lesotho, go and ask Lesotho. Nigeria, go and ask Lesotho. Look for advices. You can even stay away and we won by walkover because it will be embarrassing. Yes, I'm saying 3-0.
Locals gathered in Tuamasina Beach to witness a rare total lunar eclipse known as the blood moon. Traditional music and spiritual dances marked the event in Madagascar, creating a distinctive atmosphere. The lunar eclipse lasted 5 hours and 27 minutes, with its most dramatic phase when the moon was fully in Earth's shadow, lasting around 82 minutes. According to NASA, lunar eclipses are safe to observe with the naked eye, unlike solar eclipses, which require protective equipment. On the program, did you know Nikkei Art Gallery in Lagos is one of the largest art galleries in West Africa, founded by renowned artist and designer Chief Nikkei Davis Okundaye. The gallery is home to over 25,000 diverse artworks, including paintings, sculptures, textiles, and crafts by Nigerian and African artists. More than just a gallery, Nikkei Art Gallery is a cultural hub that celebrates Nigeria's rich artistic heritage, a must-visit for anyone looking to explore the soul of African creativity. If you haven't been, now is your chance. That's it on the program. Thank you for watching. I'm Joke Rogers.